Hello and welcome to Miami View Women. Thank you for tuning in live today. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Carolina Castillo, and I am so privileged today. Why am I privileged? Because I have the biggest announcement to make, and I get to make it. We have a new co-host on the show. Yvette Harris is here with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yes, we are too. I'm so happy because you've been such a part of our show this year. You've been in the education panel. You've been just in a various shows that we've had. You've been a friend of ours and a supporter. And I am so happy to have you here with us. You're such a force in Miami-Dade County with Harris PR that's been around for 20 years and counting. You're originally from New York City. You were 40 in 2008, and you know, like just powerhouse, like businesswoman. And so I'm just privileged. And yes, I miss you, Miriam. She's in the background right now. She's going to be our producer. And we just have some really exciting changes happening with Miami View Women. And with us today as well is a dear friend and a former judge, Sarah Zabel. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm humbled to be here, and congratulations to this amazing show. And Yvette and Carolina, wonderful.
Yes, it really is. I mean, we're doing well, and I appreciate your time to be here today. So you've been a judge for 16 years, and now you own your dispute resolution practice with Mays Resolutions. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I was on the bench in Miami-Dade for 16 years, and I retired in 2018. And I opened my own statewide full-service dispute resolution company, a practice, because after seeing so much in the court system, I wanted to help, and that's why Maze, to help navigate people out of the maze so that they wouldn't have to be stuck in the court system for so many reasons, and the trauma and the expense. And for me now, in what I'm doing, it's a full service, so I do all types of dispute resolution, mediations, arbitration, but really my ultimate goal with my practice is to resolve issues, resolve conflict. I'm a peacemaker, and to take control out of the last place of dispute resolution, which is the court system, and put control, and this is through mediation, put control in the parties' hands so they can resolve the dispute themselves, especially where children are concerned, so that they're not in the court system. And I have to say, it's just so incredibly rewarding.
So Yvette, I'm going to, and viewers, you know, please chime in, and we're live, so you can ask Sarah anything you'd like. And I wanted to just say a little story of how we met. We met when I was the president of Women's Chamber of Commerce of Miami-Dade County. And it was just a workshop that we were having, and it was an instant friendship between you and I. Right? It was wonderful. And since then we've been friends. And one thing that you all probably don't know is that Sarah is an icon. She really is, of our community. So in 2014, it was Sarah Zabel who declared gay marriage ban in Florida was unconstitutional in 2014. And then in 2015, she married her first gay couple. It was national news. There was cameras all over her courtroom. And I just want to say that so everyone can understand how special she is to our community and how inclusive and what a change maker she has been. So could you tell us more of that time in history in Miami?
Wow, it was certainly a journey. And I will say this, it's very rare um, for a circuit court judge, a state court judge, to get a case with a constitutional issue that might go all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, like the issue that I received. So it's, and so when I found out that I got the case, it was, you really have to be very thoughtful. But I will say this, that any case, whether it's a case like this that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, or just, a very simple contract dispute case, they're all important. The decisions of the court is very important. And making that decision is incredibly important for everybody. And like I tell children and I tell young people who are about to turn 18, or young people who now can vote, that to be an informed voter, especially for judges, because the judge that you vote for may make a decision that will impact everybody, as of course the decision that I made. And certainly it was very humbling and very rewarding. And it definitely was, I use the word a lot, but it was definitely a journey.
So I have a question. So that was 2015, right? What was your feeling when, right after, like you always have a reflection moment about something, so huge that you've done. Like what were your thoughts, if you can share with us in terms of just that moment, because it's one thing while you're in the midst of it, but it's another thing when it kind of gets quiets down, you have time to kind of reflect. And what were some of your reflections?
Oh, absolutely.
Time, if you.
And that's a great question. And, and some people will say, oh, do you regret your decision? And of course I don't. And certainly working through and being thoughtful and being like a judge, being fair and impartial and looking at the law and past cases. And Carolina and I were talking about this case, Loving versus Virginia, certainly was a very important case that really that was part of my decision making. And I'll just touch on Loving versus Virginia in a moment. But just to answer your question, is the reflection that I had, and thinking about it, is that I'm a religious Jew. And I go to temple every Saturday. I go to synagogue, and it's an Orthodox synagogue. And I didn't hesitate. I have no regrets in my decision. But I went to, right after I made my decision, I go to synagogue. And I thought, well, I think they're going to excommunicate me or something because of the decision I made. But I think this is such a great story. And it just stands out to answer your question. I'm sitting there, and after the services are over, this woman's walking up the aisle that I know, and she's looking at me with these, like, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm trying to hide. What is she going to say? Is she going to, attack me? Is she going to say something? And you know what she said, and I'll never forget this? She said, "Good for you. I'm so proud of you." And, it was like the world opened up, and it was just such a, that aha moment. So
I love that story so much, because I'm Catholic, right? And the Vatican just this week, said that, what did they say? They barred gay union blessings, saying that God can't bless sin. And I have to tell you, being a Catholic, it really disappointed me. It really discouraged me, because you want your faith, your religion to kind of stand with your values, right? And you also want them to evolve, for God's sakes. We're in 2021. And so I feel that, you know, our faith is defined by love. And for them to, you know, to turn away from love hurt me so much, you know, and I don't have to be LGBTQ community to support the LGBTQ community. It's just love. So it hurt me. It really did hurt me. And I feel that you look at the Episcopalians and you look at other religions, you feel like, when are you going to evolve? You know, when will you move forward from this thinking, you know? Let's move forward. And it really hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I think it all comes to equal protection, right? Look at, you know, if we look at the historical background, I mean, as women and the right to vote and equal protection. And I mentioned Loving versus Virginia because when I first got the case, obviously, you don't make your decision until you hear all the arguments. But certainly, when I first got the first case that I thought of, the Supreme Court case, was Loving versus Virginia. And Loving versus Virginia was a U.S. Supreme Court case. I mean, it used to be where there was a criminal penalty for Black people to marry white people, and the U.S. Supreme Court struck that down. And the Obergefell was the U.S. Supreme Court that was authored by Justice Kennedy that struck down gay marriage, and he cited Loving versus Virginia because it's an equal protection argument, due process, that you should be able to marry who you want to marry without government interference. And there's so, we go back historical. We look at our history, because if you don't remember your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And
exactly.
So that's certainly that case, especially. There were a lot of other cases, but that case specifically really, when I first received the case, that was the first case that I thought of.
Yes, and how do you feel about that, Yvette? And what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I feel, similarly to you in terms of, I believe that we operate in a spirit of love. We do have to evolve. I consider myself as a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in power. But in terms of organized, I've kind of journeyed my own path, in terms of how I raise her, because a lot of people that are in organized, and they're not always the nicest, so I try to treat everybody fairly and judge everybody through love and how they, open and receptive to me. So, I understand that Elton John, I believe, was very, very, and came out, and just, he was very disappointed. Many took to social media, and responded to that. So, kudos to you.
He called them hypocrites.
Yeah.
Because I think they made money off of his, what was it? You should know more about this, of his tour.
I believe so. Yeah.
It was like his movie, and supposedly the Vatican profited off of it, and then they went against it. And it was all about Elton John's life and love and his marriage.
and I feel that the Catholic Church has so many challenges in the Catholic Church, due to their own stuff, so to come out and be judgmental is, we're in no position to judge anyone.
Exactly. In a way, I find the Catholic Church not blessing love and gay marriage a sin. So how about that? How about that statement? Let's write that up.
And you know what? It's so true. And I want to echo what both of you said, that, and it's nice because now I'm no longer on the bench. So now I have my voice, so I can speak up. But it's all, it's all positive messaging, of course. but the world is full of double standards, right? And there's a lot of hypocrisy, and I'm not pointing to one over the other, but that's the reality of it. What good is one for one may not be good for the other, and it's all about tolerance and inclusivity, and bringing everybody together, because again, it's just it's that open dialogue, because if the dialogue stops, then we're all, we're not moving forward in a good direction.
Exactly. And I want to give a shout out to, I saw Josh, great conversation. And then I saw Miriam also asking a question, but I can't see it anymore. But thank you both for tuning in live. Talking about love, okay? I know you are surrounded by love, your children, and your beautiful, amazing husband, who is also just really supportive of you. I know we've had discussions about him, and he's just a wonderful man. But I also know that you posted something on Facebook with his dog Winter, and he was on a bicycle, and he is paraplegic. How has that been in your life? How transformative has that been in your life and in your career? Having him as the supportive husband he is.
Well, you know what? There's just, I don't think we have enough time in this show for me. The good, the good as well as the bad. But you know what? But we're partners, and he's my best friend, and it's about and going back to that time. I told you that I have 4 beautiful children, first of all, and they all make me look good. But I was 4 months pregnant with my youngest when, I was in private practice at the time when I got a call from Jackson. My husband he's a builder, amazing builder. He was building a custom home on Miami Beach, and I get a call from Miami Jackson telling me, your husband had an accident, and that I went to the hospital, and the doctor told me he probably would never walk again. And and your mind and what's going on inside and what's going outside, and you think, is this really happening to me, like having an out of body experience? But you somehow you pull things together, and I think you don't know how you're going to be until you're put in a certain situation, whether or not you rise to the occasion, or how you overcome difficulties or challenges with attitude. Or my husband was sent to a hospital for several months. He came home just in time for our baby to be born. And so my husband is amazing. One, because he knew I wanted to eventually be on the bench one day. And when he came home from the hospital, he told me, you know what, life is too short. I want you to run. I believe in you. And he just was amazing. And he, there was no pity. He just took the ball and ran. He would be, and I was telling Carolina that he was on the sidewalks with my sign. He was, he did everything to help me succeed. And because he believed in me, and just, and he never, and I won. And fast forward to when I decided to leave the bench. He wanted me to stay, but I told him I think this is the right time for me. And he was supportive, and he was supportive of me starting my own business. And he has been so incredibly supportive throughout our marriage. I mean, look, nothing's perfect, right? But sometimes we're the married, what's that show, Married with Children? But really, he is my best friend, and he's just such a good, kind person and a wonderful father. But the point is that this man is, you would have to live with somebody who as a paraplegic to really understand what they go through on a daily basis. But I'm telling you, this man never complains. He gets up, incredible attitude.
Has he inspired you to take more risks in life?
Absolutely. And he just, because he's fearless, and he always is very supportive. And it's just, I think overall, look, you could be fine, right? You could be walking and everything's fine with you and healthy, but you could, because of emotional whatever, you could disable yourself. So he doesn't. He's handy capable. He is just, he really is the epitome of, overcoming challenges and lemons and lemonade. And that's the way what he teaches our children. He's an incredible role model that, life may hand you terrible, horrible, tragic things, but it's what you do with your life. It's how you overcome. And it's just being, positive and loving, and just knowing that, never giving up, just having that incredible internal spirit.
My favorite quote that I've had for over 25 years, and it's life is 10% of to you and 90% of how you react. So he sounds like 90% is awesome, so.
Yep.
What risks have you taken, and what have you done that you thought you could have never surpassed in your own life?
Wow. Well, besides being a mother of 4.
Wow. Yes, kudos to you, because I have one, and my goodness, it's a lot.
That's definitely a risk, but and a reward. So yes. I would say, so many things. Just the Reader's Digest version of my life. I started out wanting to go into acting, and when I was young, I moved up to New York. My dad, when he was alive, God rest his soul, he was nervous for me. He didn't want me to be the starving actor, but he still, again, my dad believed in me, and he drove me to New York. I was there for a couple of years. I tried, I did everything, and then I decided maybe it wasn't for me. I decided to go to law school. And my father drove me back. He was so happy. But look, you know what? That was a risk. And without risk, you don't learn and you don't evolve. And I don't have any regrets. Interesting, my youngest daughter is now a theater major. So there you go. So I'm living my life vicariously through her. But, the risk, I worked for child support enforcement in Miami Dade for many years, and I want to shout out to Janet Reno, God rest her soul, who was just an amazing woman, who just was an incredible person and a great public servant. So I worked at child support as a lawyer for many years, went to law school, fast forward, and I was very involved with different organizations. I was very involved with Miami Dade FAW, which is the Florida Association for Women Lawyers. I became president, and because I wanted to become a judge one day, I decided, through my husband's support, I took the risk of leaving child support because I wanted to make myself more well-rounded, because eventually I wanted to be on the bench to really understand, because judges don't live in glass boxes. They deal with a human condition. And I really wanted to make myself well-rounded, that if I ever came on the bench, that certainly I understood everybody that might come into court that really needed me and needed my attention, to make sure that their voices were heard. So I went into the risk. I opened my own practice downtown Miami, and it was growing. And then my husband had his accident. And then the next risk was leaving my growing practice to run for judge. and it did pay off, but you never know. It's a risk. And then my next risk was leaving the bench after 16 years. And, it's about resilience and being tenacious. And then just, and I'm the type of person, we were talking about this too, Carolina, is that if somebody tells me no, I go to the next person that tells me yes. And so a lot of people say, oh, you're starting your own business. Maybe it might be too hard. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I did it anyway. And now I'm going on 3 years and my business is sustaining itself. I brought on somebody else, another former judge who's amazing, Amari Pedro Iglesias. And, I'm building my business. And, it's just, it's, as I met, and we were talking about mentoring, as I mentor young women and I mentor law students, is that if somebody, know your value. If somebody tells you no, go to the next person that tells you yes, because it's just one person with their opinion. Good for them, and go on.
So viewers, know your value. I love that advice, and you work so much with young women. I know you're a mentor for Women of Tomorrow. You're also in the Women's Commission. You are just such an inspiration in our community, really, and you give back so much. And I just appreciate you, and just the fact that I'm sure you tell these women, know your worth, know your value. How has that experience in mentoring, shaped you and shaped our community and our young girls?
Well, I think it's all about pay it forward, right? I had incredible mentors. I went to Miami Dade, and I had an incredible mentor, Paula Milton, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And she took me under her wing. I was very young, and she just, she believed in me. She knew, and she said, don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not better than who you are. And that really, besides my mother, of course, she an incredible role model, and I use the word. They always expressed to me that nobody should tell you it's not possible. And if, you do everything you can, if you, find a career path, if you really want something and you're passionate and you believe in it, then go for it. And it has to be your decision whether or not you want to pivot. Don't let anybody tell you it's not possible. And that's why I tell young people, girls, yes, I mentor a lot of young girls, but both young men and young women, because I have 2 boys and 2 girls, it's about owning your own journey and understanding your self-worth and being confident in who you are. There are so many people that want to bring you down and put that wall in front of you to try and tell you, it's about confidence and believing in yourself and using your voice to get you to where you need to go. And excuse me, and that really that's what drives me. And I really do believe if I can, I'm very free with my advice to lawyers, to college students, high school students, and law school students. Because when I first started out, I had a lot of mentors, but I had some people that I went to that I thought would be my mentor that closed the door in my face. And shame on them, but you know what? And for me, it's about, always having an open door to anybody. Yes. My advice is free. Take it for what it's worth. But but anybody who needs to, I just want young people, especially who feel like, now in the world of COVID, which is very difficult for young people who are feeling disconnected and feeling isolated and alone. I just want them to know that we're not alone, that there's a village, that we're there. We wrap our arms around you and we put you in, and we believe in you, and we want you to know that we care and that we're there for you.
So we're celebrating this month, right? And women entrepreneurs are literally taking over the world. What would you say to a woman who is on the fence about starting her own company, and you enjoy the most about owning your own business?
Well, certainly the autonomy, because when you're on the bench, even though you're a judge to the constituents, but you do not have autonomy. Owning your own business, it's yours. You either rise to the occasion or you don't. And nobody's perfect. Like there's no perfect parent, no perfect child. But through mistakes you learn. And I would say this to any new entrepreneur is to make sure you, before you start the business, is to do a lot of research. Just like school, do your homework. Talk to the right people. That's what I did. I reached out to other people that I feel that I could trust, that would give me sound advice before I started the business, just to make sure that I was doing it right. And even now to this day, I still ask questions. I always say there's no stupid question because we're always on a learning curve. So I would say reach out to, make a list of all those people, maybe in the business that you feel that you can confide in or get help from. Reach out to those people, find out the market, what market you're looking to go into, and research, and marketing obviously is a big deal. I mean, when I was in private practice years ago, my kids would say the dinosaur years, the hieroglyphics. But we didn't have social media. Certainly, social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is can really help you propel your business. So how do you use it in a good direction that's going to help grow your business? So I would certainly, advise that, and just, continue asking questions, because that's how you grow. And, I just want to also say that when I first started out, I was talking a lawyer that said to me, I said, well, I want to be neutral. I mean, including mediation. And she said, oh, there's so many. They said there are so many mediators. I'm not giving out any names, but no. So no, she said that, oh, there's so many mediators, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well, I'm here. I've arrived. There's me.
That'd be another one, right?
Yes. And it's like we keep going back to that. It's funny that you keep mentioning that, because we don't expect, other women to close the doors. We don't expect other women to build walls. We don't expect other women to not uplift and not mentor and not, support us, right? And so when that happens, even today, even at our age, because I know I'm not a spring chicken either, I still get shocked. I have to tell you, I'm still shocked, because I'm so open and I'm so giving and I'm so passionate. I'm so enthusiastic, and I do everything with such genuineness. If I do something, I'm doing it 150%. Yeah. And then when you run across women in particular that just, their energy just baffles you, because you think to yourself, but we're here to support one another. We're here. We're in the same boat. It's been so hard for all of us, especially through COVID, women have been hit the hardest, really, especially women who have children. And then for other women to badmouth other women and create these walls, it's so disappointing.
Caroline, I think it's a small. And that could just be my thinking. I really believe it's a small of women that are like that. And I remember when I first started my company, And the very same people that I think most supportive, they want, oh, you really should. You're going to leave the business. Fast forward, maybe like 5 years after that, they explained to me it wasn't supportive. It was they wished that they themselves could have the courage to start their own company. So sometimes necessarily that they don't want to be supportive, but it might be where they are in their space in their life and wanting to do, and rather than just say, well, where did you get that inspiration? Like some of it, they react maybe in a different way. But I really believe it's a small percentage of people, women, men, that are like that.
Yes, yes, human beings.
I agree. Inspiration, perspiration, and all that. I think, you know what, I agree with you. I think action speaks louder than words. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going to help you. But it's the people that actually are the doers and the givers. But I think as women, sometimes we can be our own worst enemies because we advocate for everybody, but we also have to advocate for ourselves. And, it's like, certainly the glass ceiling and all that. And certainly in the legal world, not enough women partners. And there's still, there's still
ways to go. Absolutely. Especially in the law firms. I do marketing and PR for lawyers and law firms. And you can tell there is still a long way to go for equality and for women's, even more women lawyers, and women lawyers are not getting equal pay either. So it's harsh. You know what I would love though? I would love to see you run again. I really would. I'd love to see you on a ticket in the future running, and this goes back to, you can't just, when you vote, you can't just vote down all women, right? It has to be voting about policy, voting about your values. And so, I just want to see you on a ticket.
Well, thank you. You know what? I'm certainly passionate, and just having that platform to make a positive impact for anybody, in the community. And that's really, my goal. I love my business and growing my business, but I also love public service, and thank you. But, it's such an incredible opportunity that I have now to do so much, and not to be limited. And don't get me wrong, I'm proud of my service from being on the bench, but I've met so many incredible people, i.e. you and Yvette now. And, I just remember Carolina, when I first met her, she just, literally the room just lit up. You didn't even have to turn on the switch. She was just there, and just, how you're just connected, like sisters of the heart kind of thing.
Yes.
And I just felt that, just, that magnet. It was just an incredible connection. And I just really, think you're terrific. And
thank you. Thank you. Well, I didn't expect that, but thank you. And this is why I feel this show is so important, right? Because we're here to uplift each other. We're here to support each other. And we're also here to learn from one another, because we come from different perspectives and from different lifestyles and life. And I love our, that here, we hear all our voices, all of our opinions, because I want to learn from Yvette. I want to learn from Sarah. I want to learn from everyone that comes into this show. It's important. It really is, because that's what makes us better human beings at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Look, you can agree to disagree. Everybody's got very strong opinions, just like, the decision that I made. But we have to be able to listen to each other and respect each other's opinion, because that's, otherwise, if everybody was the same, that wouldn't be good either. And by, being collaborative and really being, understanding to the other person's opinion, not that you have to agree with it, it's just being able to listen and mutual respect.
100%. And I thank you so much for being here today and helping to welcome us, you know, and welcome Yvette Harris as our, oh wait, it's this way, our new co-host. And
congratulations, Yvette.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to learning and sharing and yes, all of that. So I'm very excited, very, very excited.
Well, I watched The View, and I love, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Yvette, congratulations. I look forward to meeting you one day in person. And congratulations to the show. And I love the format. And thank you very much. I'm very humbled for you to ask me to be a guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Yvette. And thank you, viewers, for joining in today. This has really been a treat. We appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next Friday live on our show.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe.
Besitos. Ciao.
Have a good weekend.